Hello, hello! This time I will be making a commentary of the very awesome looking Baltimore. I quite recently unlocked it and I've been slowly getting all the upgrades for it, and my Baltimore is now fully upgraded. And with the concealment camo I think this ship looks absolutely fucking awesome. It really feels like a quick, sleek little cruiser. And despite all the complaints, I've actually quite enjoyed this ship. The AP and HE is very balanced, as you can see. The AP does 5k, the HE does 2.8k. Of course, I have the premium repair, all the other consumables are non-premium, you don't need them. I of course have the catapult fighter and defensive AA, because the Baltimore, like most US cruisers, is an amazing anti-air ship. That's basically what it shines at. And the way the turrets are set up on this ship is once again very nice. You have very good arcs. You can shoot in. You rarely have to present a lot of broadside to shoot with all your guns. And if you charge at someone like I'm doing here, like straight up at someone, your armor is actually very good. It's one of the best cruiser armors. I think the only ones that beat it are like the Zao and the Des Moines. So the armor is very good, especially the angle. You tend to deflect a lot of shells when you're going straight at someone, which is why I consider, despite the reputation the ship seems to have, as people don't like it, but I think it's incredibly strong against other cruisers. Like, I feel like I regularly shit on all types of cruisers with this ship, so I consider it quite a strong ship. And there's another thing that makes it very strong. If you have the detected now, so as you can see I'm going Ninja C. This is not something only DDs have to do, this is something Cruiser can do just as well. It's gonna take them a while to turn their guns at me. Yeah, I took some damage, not a big deal. Oh, there's the guy that spotted me, it was a Kagera. As I was saying, one of the other advantages this ship has, if you have the 5-point Captain perk, that increases your concealment, and you use the upgrade, that increases your concealment, and you use the camo, you get your concealment down to 10 kilometers. So you are a very stealthy cruiser. No, this Kiev just shot me. Wasn't too impressed by his firing. Now he shot into the rock. Okay, well he apologized straight away. It's not a big deal, it was just a bit of a brain fart from him, I think. Anyways, I've kept C, there's Kagera, there's battleships. I'm not gonna go there and fight them, there's absolutely no point. I'm a cruiser. Why on earth would I go fight battleships? That's just... oh, both destroyers are there. Well, this is fantastic for me, because now that I know that you have to look at the minimap, always pay a lot of attention to the minimap. But as you can see, I know now that both destroyers are there. The enemy team only has 2 destroyers. That means, thanks to my awesome concealment, which I already mentioned earlier, I can now go Cap B. And they have nothing that can detect me before I detect them. So I can, if it turns out someone is pushing into B, I can easily retreat without being detected. Or, well, basically I have the advantage. I feel people underestimate the power of concealment quite a lot in this game. Like, for example, I consider Kagero one of the best destroyers in the game right now. Like, tier 9, it's probably one of the best ships in the entire game, simply because the concealment on it is so fantastic. But for some reason people, I don't know, I feel they undervalue the power of concealment. But anyway, enough of that. As you can see, there's nothing here. There's they have a carrier, but the carrier doesn't want to get anywhere near Baltimore. Like, if you see a carrier coming for a Baltimore, then he's misclicked or he hasn't met one before. Because the one of the massive strengths on this ship is I think it might have the highest like effective cruiser DPS when it comes to planes. I'm not entirely certain, I can't remember stats. Like the Des Moines have a much larger or bigger range on the anti-air, but this Baltimore has an absolutely insane DPS on it. It's something like, just one of the guns does something like 260 at a 4.2 kilometer range with upgrades, or with full upgrades it was something like 5 kilometers. Anyways, the AA is nuts. You shoot down planes like insane. So no carrier wants to come near you. You are a carrier nightmare. One of the few ships that can actually say that they really can mess up carriers. As you can see, the projectiles though are quite slow. I put the crosshair almost all the way to the right, but I still overshot, so I have to take an even longer lead, and this is only 12 kilometers away. This is one of the reasons why I don't consider them upgrading range. Oh, even those shells overshot by his entire ship length, and that guy was only 12 kilometers away. So the arcs on these shells are quite severe, but the penetration, as you can see, is quite good. But yes, it takes a bit of getting used to, especially I tend to overshoot quite a bit. I come from my Zao, and then I go play this guy, and I keep overshooting all the time, so that's a bit annoying, but it does a lot of damage when you land, and you seem to get plenty of citadels with the ship, so I quite like these guns. Even though, as I said, the arc is painful, and this is why I don't consider the upgrade that increases your range very good, because if your arc is this bad at like 12-13 kilometers, can you imagine trying to shoot something at 17? It'll be like the Cleveland with the advanced firing training perk. You're not gonna hit shit. So I've just gone for better anti-air instead, because that's the bread and butter of the Baltimore ship. In this case, I'm slowing down because I'm using the rocks around me to cover me, and I'm using the smoke that this friendly DD dropped. The Benson, he obviously doesn't understand how to use offensive smokes because he straight away abandoned it. So I'm basically using his offensive smoke to my advantage. This is basic positional play. There's no one who can detect me, so I'm completely hidden. I'm basically abusing his smoke to my own advantage. And this Ayoba is being detected by all our ships on the far left, and possibly my spotter plane. There can be plenty of things detecting him, which is fantastic for me because I can rain fire from, well, complete stealth basically. Oh, he's turning. I'm gonna speed up a bit now because if I happen to randomly get detected, I don't want to be sitting still, because the Yoba, like all Japanese cruisers, has torps, and he looks like he's closing in quite fast. But if he closes in too fast, then angling his armor will no longer deflect his shells. Oh yeah, okay, he's turning, he's giving broadside, and the Baltimore guns are quite strong. Not quite yet, I think I overshot him just a bit. I thought he would fully turn, but he only turned partially. But now he's turning fully, and that gives him access to his citadel, and that's quite a lot of damage. I didn't really take any damage yet because basically I abused the smoke, as I've told people to do plenty of times. Abuse the smoke. Always do it if possible. Even if you're not a destroyer, even if you're a battleship, if you're a cruiser, whatever. Use the terrain, use the smoke. I'm gonna see if I can land some shells on this New Orleans. I'm still sticking to AP. Okay, here you see this carrier decided to go for this Izuma, I think, next to me. So I wait until the torpedo planes are within range. I don't feel like activating my... Now I activate it, I look at the minimap to see if he's closing in. And he's closing in now, and I have him focus first. If you hold down, I think it's Control is the default key. If you hold down Control and click one of those squads, then your anti-air will focus that squad and do 50% more damage. And I did that to that squad basically, and I shot down the entire squad because I activated my defensive AI. It just instantly melted. Carriers don't want to get close to Baltimore. It's that simple. This is what the ship was basically designed for, escorting battleships, or in this game specifically, escorting battleships. That's what you are very good at. Now this New Orleans is angling his armor quite well, and he's evading. He's doing the snake-like evading that I often speak. If you turn left, you turn right, you turn left, and so forth. It's hard to land shells on someone who's sailing away like that, especially with the Baltimore's shell velocity. Like there, as you can see, it's 9 seconds to 13 kilometers. 9 seconds for my shells to land there, so that's plenty of time for him to see the shells and start turning and evading. And we have a DD down south. That's a Kagero. But I kind of want to abuse the terrain again. I'm hoping the Kagero is behind the rocks, so I'm going to abuse the terrain again. You can see I'm stopping. And I'm going to start taking pot shots at the Izuma, and as you've noticed, I'm not detected. This is something I feel people don't use enough, the terrain. There are plenty of chances to simply use the turret to your advantage, and people don't do it. Okay, now the DD is no longer detected by the carrier, so I can no longer sit here because he just spotted me briefly. I can't take the risk of sitting still with an undetected Kagero around. He could torp me easily, so I just move out. If you're fighting an Izumo, then being behind him is the best place to be, because all his guns are in the front, and he can't really shoot straight backwards at all. He'll have to turn his ship and angle himself, so you have plenty of forewarning if he decides to turn around. That is, I think, a major weakness of the Izumo. I'm sending up a new spotter plane. There, as you look at the minimap, their carrier is spotted in the far right, so I'm constantly moving in this general direction. I'm tempering my speed though. As you can see, I'm constantly changing it between full and half because I don't want to get too close. One of your advantages is that you're a slim, small, fairly small ship compared to at least other cruisers. Or I don't know, it feels small because it's so slim. Like if you look at the length, if you go straight at someone, you present such a small target. And I want to abuse it by being far enough away from them. Because if you're close, then even a battleship can hit you. I'm sticking to HE now because he's so low HP and I basically just want to finish him. He's using AP though, but I'm just turning towards him, angling my armor, and finishing with HE. Yep, and that's him dead. As you can see, his AP didn't really do much. It did some damage, but not the end of the world. I'm keeping an eye. You can see the Izumo guns are aimed at me. So when you're fighting a battleship like this, always keep an eye. The second you see muzzle flashes, that's when you want to start turning towards him. See, waiting for the muzzle flash. There we go, muzzle flash. I'm turning hard left. This is what you want to do. You can just keep a straight course, keep shooting, lull him into a sense of security, or lull him into thinking he knows where you're going. And then as soon as you see the muzzle flashes from his big guns, that's when you turn away. And usually, especially with a ship like the Baltimore that presents such a slim little target, it's very hard to reliably land shots at this range. So, one of the reasons why I like this cruiser, or well, cruisers in general. Oh, muzzle flashes, turning hard left again. By the time they land, my ship is almost perfectly facing him. He did get a really nice land here. You saw right in the front, but that's just at this range it's a lot of RNG, especially coming from an Izumo. Okay, some torps from behind. There's probably a Kagero on my left. I'm switching my course slightly now because I'm a bit worried about 7 torpedoes coming for me again. Those are far away, no worries about them. There's the enemy carrier. The Izumo is no longer pointing his guns at me, that's why I wasn't afraid to show. Now the Kagero is shooting me, but Kagero guns aren't really that much of an issue. Not much of a threat. He's obviously going for the cap and doesn't even attempt to fight me really. I'd rather go kill the carrier. Now, the carrier's torpedo planes are on the left, so that means I just spotted them there. So that means they're always going for the battleship, not me. Which gives, by the time those have landed and refueled and everything, it's going to take so long that I doubt he'll have time to do anything. So this is why when I see this bomber plane, I'll have no problems activating my defensive AA, because I think I'll reach the carrier before those have landed and taken off again. I wait until he's close, and then I activate it. Shot down 3. Oh, he did get one hit. I might have activated, could have probably activated it a bit sooner, but I wasn't too worried because I had my repair ready. As you can see, I instantly shot down the entire squad because this is a Baltimore. And now he's trying to retreat and get back behind the cliff, but there's not much you can do. Here you get to see the excellent angles on this ship. When you see I just need to turn slightly bit more to the right. I'm waiting until I'm past this cliff so I can do it. And this is the angle you can fire at. Bring all your guns to bear while still constantly closing in the distance. The ship isn't fast, but It's quite nimble and it's quite slim, and I don't know, I've enjoyed playing this cruiser. A lot of people seem to hate. I didn't particularly like the New Orleans, but the Baltimore I quite enjoyed. It just feels like what a cruiser should feel like in a way. I think one of the reasons people dislike the Baltimore is not so much the Baltimore itself, but it's because the competition, the battleships, they get quite insane at T9 and T10, especially T10, and because Baltimore is a T9 ship, you get matched up against them a lot. So it's quite frustrating because you have to be very, very careful when you fight high tier battleships, because you fuck up once and you get one shot. Anyways, the game ended. The money was quite good. This was my first win today, so that's why I got such XP. My scoreboard XP isn't bad at all though. 3.1k, because as I said in my how to get XP in 0.5.1, I did all the capping. And my damage is like, what, 145,000? Yeah, I think 145,000 it looks like. And in a 50-minute game, that's quite good. The repairs were only about 65,000, so not a bad game overall. As usual, I will start with the modules. Now, the most important thing regarding modules, the very first upgrade that you'll want is naturally the range increase. The default range is 14.4, which honestly at T10 or T9 is absolutely dreadful. That is a painfully low range and there is no way you can play with it. If you got free XP, save it up for this upgrade alone, because you want the 10% upgrade as ASAP. Once you have that, it's pretty straightforward. You get the hull and you get the gun upgrade. It gives you a pretty nice 15% reload speed, so it's a very nice upgrade, well worth the money and the XP. So that's pretty straightforward, just need to start with the range upgrade. Consumables, as usual, I use the premium repair. The default one is 90 seconds, that's way too long, so you want the 1 minute one. And of course, use defensive AA fire, not hydroacoustic, because the Baltimore is an AA monster. And catapult fighter, once again, you want to make your AA even better. And of course, this one is straightforward. You don't need premium on any of these, the default ones is plenty enough. Upgrade wise, well, the first one is pretty straightforward, main battery. You don't want to lose your guns and you want to minimize the risk of detonation. This one is pretty much on everything except Japanese destroyers. Now here it comes a bit interesting. Some people like to get the increased firing accuracy, but personally I think the accuracy is quite decent already. Dispersion is 142, but it really doesn't feel that bad, because considering the short ranges you usually fight at, so I found the accuracy to be good enough to enable me to take the AA mount increase. You have to notice that this increase in AA synergizes with your defensive AA fire. The larger your AA range is, the larger your panic area is as well. So if you got both those upgrades with the Captain perk as well, then your defensive AA fire is insane. So I take the increase in firing range, and here once again, here's the option once again to increase your main battery firing range, but personally I feel like the projectiles are too slow already. I think this will be much like getting the advanced firing training perk on the Cleveland. It looks cool, it sounds cool, but it doesn't really do that much because your arcs are so insane, and I feel like this would be much of the same thing. Like, maybe it might work, but on the Zao I use this, but I don't think it's worth it because of the arcs on the Baltimore. They're a bit too steep to justify it. So it's an option, I guess. I personally didn't go for it. It depends. You might be able to do some stealth shooting tricks if you use this and then with the stealth and so forth, but I prefer the better AA, because this is 20% effectiveness, and considering the very strengths of the US line is anti-air, if you went for the US line, you went here because you want to be a supportive cruiser. So if you want to be a pure nuker, then you should have gone for the Zao to begin with. But yeah, I prefer the AA, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a valid option. The other two are obviously garbage. This one costs you reload speed, so if you want faster traverse but you lose 12% reload, garbage. Secondary battery, garbage. Here I took the reduction. This one is pretty bad, but honestly you probably never lose engine pretty much, and you extremely rarely use steering, so not really worth it. This one benefits you all the time. Here there might be some argument about you could use steering gears, but I prefer the flooding recovery, because you will be, well, ideally you will be fighting a lot of planes, which means a lot of bombs and a lot of torpedoes, so reducing this should be optimal, but it's, once again, there's a bit left up to taste here, which one you like more. I prefer this one because I think the maneuverability is quite good, but if you feel like it's lacking, then you can of course use the steering gear instead. And last is straightforward stealth. What else? Captain perks. Now, one thing you need to notice with this captain is, this one is of course fully leveled. That's because I sold my Essex. I couldn't be arsed, I got so bored of carrier play. So I just sold all my carriers and I took my fully leveled captain from there and placed him here. So, the first thing you want, the priority, situation awareness. There's no discussion. You need this on every single cruiser. In high tier you have to know if you're detected or not, so you know to avoid shells from battleships and to angle yourself and so forth. This is an absolute must-have. Second is once again expert marksman. This one is torpedoes, pointless, this is garbage, and this is pointless, so straightforward once again. Third one, you of course want superintendent, especially since you're a US cruiser. First you want superintendent because it gives you another repair, but you also want it because, well, if you want another consumable, defensive AA, which is like your bread and butter here. And lastly, here we once again have some options. Now there's the possibility of getting advanced firing training for even more AA range. It's optional at this point. Personally, I prefer the demolition expert because that bumps up your fire chance to a really meaty 17% chance of setting a fire. And as you saw, I set quite a lot of fires. But there's the option of getting your increased AA range here, and then from upgrades instead of getting this you get the gunfire for more accuracy. Like you got a bit of leeway here. Personally, I prefer the fire chance. But this one is acceptable as well, especially if, let's say, if you play together with a carrier, if you always queue together with a carrier, then this one will probably be far superior because you'll get even more AA. So if you play with a carrier, obviously take this. If you don't, then it's a bit up to you. I prefer demolition expert for more damage, because sadly right now shooting down planes doesn't really give you that much. And last but not least, concealment expert. It's amazing. It's thanks to concealment expert that my concealment is 10 kilometers. So with the camo, the upgrade and the perk, I get the 10 kilometer detection, which is pretty fucking sweet. And once you have all these, at this point it becomes a bit of a toss-up. Do you want basics of survivability or secondary armament? Once again, this is a nice AA buff, this is a nice overall combat buff. Kinda up to you. Once again, what you feel like. If you feel like you fight a lot of planes, then this one is obviously better. This one I just took because, well, the last point I had to put it somewhere, and all these tier 2 perks are garbage, so rather take that one. Anyway, that was my Baltimore commentary. I hope you enjoyed it.